Okay, in this video I want to talk about disjunctive syllogisms. And they will also have a major premise and a minor premise and a conclusion. So a syllogism is the very basic form of an argument. An argument has to have at least two propositions and then an alleged or apparent or real conclusion that comes from those two. Now a good argument will have a genuine conclusion that comes from those two. So propositions. So this is disjunctive. And your major premise, I'm signifying that by the capital M, capital P, is really what you have to have in place first. And it's going to be in the form of an either or statement. Okay, so we're going to go just for simplicity, either A or B. Now at this point, I don't care about content, all right? I'm just going to do this formally with letters so that we can see how it works together on a formal basis. Okay. When I say formal, I mean based on its form. Okay, either A or B. Now, the minor premise is what you get next. And depending on what it is, we see whether or not we can get a conclusion. Now, the conclusion is sometimes signified by three dots and a triangle. Sometimes it's just it's just anything under a line like this. So here I was kind of redundant. I just threw all the symbols in because sometimes it's just a line. See? And when you have just a line, you understand whatever's under the line is the conclusion of whatever is above. Sometimes you don't have the line, but you have the three dots. Or sometimes you'll have a word like therefore, or ergo, E-R-G-O, that sort of thing. Either A or B, that's your major premise. Always, okay? Now, it could be more than that for the disjunctive. It could be either A or B or C or D, or okay? But what you're getting here is the either or idea. And you're getting options, okay? And we have to be careful, though, because there are two types of disjunctive syllogisms. There's the exclusive and the inclusive. Now this is the we're going to treat this as the inclusive, okay? So I'm going to put this to the side and say inclusive. And the idea behind the inclusive is that the promise here is that at least one of these options has to be the case. But that doesn't mean that both can't be the case at the same time. So you always have to remember perhaps both are the same case. But the promises of the either or major premise is that at least one has to be the case, either A or B. You see that? So if in the major premise, if in the minor premise I put B, did I meet that promise? Yes. Okay, so I don't have any conclusion because remember both can be the case at the same time. So in other words, if I put B up here, then I cannot say, oh, therefore not A. I can't say that. Not if it's inclusive, because remember, both can be the same at the same time. So think of the disjunctive syllogism. It is raining or it is 5 o'clock p.m. Well, can't it be raining right at 5 o'clock p.m.? Can't both of those states be met simultaneously? Okay, how about this? How you look at a computer and you know that you had turned it on, and you say something like either the plug, but when you look at it, you know the screen's all black, and you go, man, either the battery is dead, or the plug came out, or it went to sleep. Couldn't more than one of those scenarios be the case at the same time with the other? Like, couldn't the plug have come out and the battery have gone dead? You know, the battery died first and then maybe your pet ran across the cord and pulled the plug out. So the plug is out and the battery is dead. So you could have two of those options be the case at the same time. So for the inclusive idea is that, you know, all options could be, you know, obtaining at the same time. It might be very improbable, but it's certainly possible. So you cannot get a conclusion when you affirm in the minor premise one of the options and say, hey, the conclusion is not the other options. Not for the inclusive. So you can't draw that conclusion. Well, what if I were to go, but hey, not B? Then I have to say A, because the promise of the major premise is that it's either A or B. So if you take away one, whatever is left is your answer, is your conclusion. Now, what if we had gone on, or you say not A or B or C? Okay, and then I took away B, then my conclusion would have to be A or C. Okay? So the conclusion might be a slimmed down form of the major premise, still with the or and the options there, but that nevertheless is a different statement. And it's what you can draw self-evidently if this is your minor premise and this is your major premise. So, sometimes the conclusion will take that form. Now, so the rule for the inclusive disjunctive syllogism, you negate one option so that the remainder is your conclusion. Okay? That's just how it works. Now, what about the inclusive? Excuse me, I'm sorry. What about the exclusive disjunctive syllogism? How does that look? Okay, well, you got to be able to say, it's going to look this for. The major premise is going to be something like either A or B, and this is very important, okay, but not both. So that's the key right there. So at that point, you realize, hey, if that's your major premise, and if your minor premise is something like A, well, then you can say not B because of the not both restriction put on it. Okay? And of course, if you say not A, well, then it just follows B by the basic rule of the inclusive too. Okay? Because here, one has to obtain. That's the promise here, but we threw another thing in, but not both. So one has to also not obtain. So at this point, if I do go not A, then I can say B. But I can't do that up here. Oh, excuse me. Yes. Excuse me. This holds both ways. But down here, if I do say, here's another form of the, if I do say B, since it's not both, then I can't say not A. Then I can say not A. I can draw that conclusion, but I can't draw that conclusion up here. Okay, so let's be a little careful. Now, I did this quickly with just the form of the propositions, the premises, A's and B's, that sort of thing. In the next video, we're going to put content to here, and also we're going to revisit the hypotheticals, so that you can see it work, and then so that I can make the distinction between that which is valid and that which is true but not valid, and that which is true and valid at the same time, which we call sound. Okay, so we're going to make those distinctions in the next video.